The decision to sack Marcelo Bielsa is one few would have seen coming at the start of the season. After a generation of pain and disappointment outside of the top flight, the maverick coach had restored pride to Leeds United and built a deep emotional bond with the Leeds faithful, making the club synonymous with exciting attacking football and returning them to the Premier League after a 16-year absence. So to say that new manager Jesse Marsch has big boots to fill would be a huge understatement. Anyone following such a big act will always be greeted with a certain level of skepticism, and being an American coach with minimal top 5 league experience also makes him an ideal victim for the regressive elements of the English media and fans alike. Nevertheless, his appointment is another sign that the club is looking forward rather than backwards for answers, even in the midst of a relegation battle, and by the time you're watching this, we will already have had a glimpse of what he has to offer in Yorkshire. But who is Jesse Marsch, what can he bring to Leeds in the long run, and what are the similarities and differences between him and Bielsa? On today's FD Explained, we're going to find out. Following a 13-year playing career in the MLS, in which he also won 2 international caps, Jesse Marsch went straight into coaching, hired as Bob Bradley's assistant for the US men's national team in 2010 and helping them top their group at that summer's World Cup, the first time they had done so in the competition's history. It wasn't long before he got his first shot at being a number 1, appointed as Montreal Impact's first ever head coach ahead of their inaugural season in the MLS. But despite leading them to a respectable 12th place finish, Marsch lasted just 1 season, leaving by mutual consent due to differences in coaching philosophy. It was an important experience though. As he later said, "I had an idea in my head of what I thought the job was, that I think was wrong, and I needed to learn more about how to work with people and lead better. That's when I really think I developed who I am as a coach and what my leadership ideas are." After taking an extended break away from the game, which included a 6-month round-the-world trip with his wife and children, Marsch was employed by another MLS outfit, New York Red Bulls, and it was here that he first met Ralf Rangnick, then Red Bull's director of football, who would come to have a huge influence over the way he saw the game. And after a highly successful 3.5-year stint in which he won the MLS Coach of the Year in his first season and twice won the Supporters' Shield, awarded to the team that finishes top of the league, he was given the opportunity to work as Rangnick's assistant at RB Leipzig. Tasked with running training sessions, analysing games and preparing the side for opponents, Marsch's first posting in Europe was successful enough to earn him the top job at Red Bull Salzburg in 2019. And after 2 highly impressive seasons in Austria, in which he helped develop talents like Erling Haaland, Patson Daka and Karim Adeyemi, won consecutive league and cup doubles and became the first American to manage in the Champions League, he was granted a return to Leipzig to replace Bayern Munich-bound Julian Nagelsmann in the dugout. But this would prove the first true stumbling block of his career. He lasted just 21 games, losing 9 of them and sustaining a win rate of just 38%, by far the lowest of any coach to have managed them in the Bundesliga. Leipzig's CEO Oliver Mintzlaff described his final game, a 2-1 defeat to Union Berlin, as catastrophic, and just like that, his 6-year association with Red Bull came to an end. But Marsch's failure at Leipzig gives a good insight into the kind of football he sets out his teams to play, and what we should expect of him at Leeds. After entering the Red Bull family in 2015, Marsch began to adopt the high-energy, high-pressing playing philosophy that Ralf Rangnick had pioneered in Germany. As MLS expert Sam Stay-Skal wrote in The Athletic in 2021, if a team that presses as high as New York did from 2015 to 2018 isn't incredibly fit or on the exact same page, they can get easily picked apart. That almost never happened under Marsch. But at Leipzig, the American coach was tasked with taking over from Europe's most exciting young tactician, one who had evolved the German side to play a more tactically flexible, possession-based style of football. Oliver Mintzlaff later said that hiring Marsch had been an attempt to return to, quote, classic RB football, but that the players were never fully convinced by the manager's game plans, while Marsch himself conceded that taking over from Rangnick would have been easier for him. But despite the difficulties he faced at Leipzig, Marsch is unlikely to budge on his vision. Having used it increasingly during his time in New York, he fully adopted the famed 4-2-2-2 at Salzburg, a formation that has become a byword for fast, high-pressing vertical football, and something likely first seen by Premier League fans watching former Leipzig manager Ralf Hasenhüttl at Southampton or Rangnick's early experiments at Man United. And while he hasn't stuck to that shape religiously, switching to a midfield diamond to combat deep-lying playmakers, and even utilising a 3-4-3 at Leipzig, he has stuck to the core Red Bull principles. As he told The Athletic last year, "I'm a company man. The people are amazing, the football amazing, the whole idea of what we are. I'm totally bought into it." On the face of it, this doesn't seem too dissimilar from Bielsa ball, which has pressing and fast attacking play at its core, but there are some key differences that this Leeds squad will need to adapt to. Bielsa's side pressed intensely, allowing opponents just 9.7 passes per defensive action, second only to Liverpool in the Premier League this season, and not far off the 9.4 PPDA managed by Marsch's Leipzig. Where they differ, however, is the area of the pitch in which they win it, with Leeds making 7.5 high turnovers a game, the metric used to measure how often a side wins back possession and starts a move 40 metres or less from the opponent's goal. Leipzig were doing so 11.4 times a match, the most in the Bundesliga. What's more, Bielsa's approach to pressing has always been man-to-man, a tactic which risks opening large pockets of space for the opposition to exploit and can pull defenders out of position, but is also highly effective when this danger is averted. Marsch, on the other hand, coaches what he calls ball-orientated pressing, something he even contrasted with Bielsa's tactics in an interview with the coach's voice last year. Instead of going man-to-man, Marsch likes his sides to press opposition players collectively when they receive the ball, cutting off passing options and manipulating the space high up the field. This hunting in packs approach is more conventional by modern standards, in keeping with what we have seen Liverpool and Bayern Munich do in recent years. It should also mean that Leeds players, who covered by far the most ground of any Premier League team under Bielsa, should get more of a rest. While Marsch's ball-orientated approach requires high fitness levels, it is also more energy efficient. In the long run, this could see the side suffer fewer injuries than they have this season. Nevertheless, he has also revealed that at points he will utilise man-marking at Leeds. Another key difference is the purpose of pressing. In Marsch's words, we don't press to gain possession, we press to score goals. It's always with the idea we're looking to go to goal as quickly as we can. While Bielsa's side generally win possession in deeper areas and starve the opposition of the ball, ranking 4th in the league for possession last term, Marsch is more direct, with a study by The Athletic finding that his Leipzig team ranked 8th in the Bundesliga for passes per sequence and were also more direct in their attacks than Leeds this season. But the study also found that Leeds ranked 3rd in the league in terms of the percentage of their shots that came within 10 seconds of regaining possession, the kind of stat that would please managers like Marsch and Rangnick. It may only take a few tweaks then, rather than a load of unlearning and relearning, for the American coach's ideas to take shape at Elland Road. As he said in his first press conference, the players don't need reinforcement on effort here. Beyond tactics though, Marsch is entering a highly emotional situation. Leeds are in a relegation battle and have just got rid of the greatest manager in their modern history, one who was loved by the players and seen as a god by the fans. It will take serious work to win over them both. But he's been here before. He replaced the legendary Mike Petka at New York Red Bulls, and when faced with 300 season ticket holders who were angry at Petka's unexpected sacking, simply told them that he loved their passion. When he replaced the similarly adored Marco Rose at Salzburg, fans unveiled a banner protesting his appointment. In both instances, he quickly won over supporters with performances and results. Clearly, Marsch is a coach who embraces a challenge. When he worked at Leipzig for the first time, he took German lessons despite the majority of players understanding English, and by the time he was managing Salzburg, he was delivering most instructions in the language. And doing so was very much a part of his leadership style. As he told The Independent in 2021, there's two things that come with speaking German. There's an adaptation to the culture, and there's also showing my vulnerability, the imperfection of who I am. That's a big part of how I coach. We have a lot of young players in our team, and they have to know that making mistakes is okay. If you know German fluently and you listen to me speaking German, literally every sentence I make mistakes. But he's far from a soft touch. A viral video of his halftime team talk in Salzburg's 4-3 defeat at Liverpool in 2019 saw him give an impassioned speech which spurred them on to come back from 3-1 down within 15 minutes. And while working under Rangnick at Leipzig, he devised a series of creative punishments for those who broke club rules, which included mowing the training pitch, acting as a tour guide, and working a shift in the club shop. This kind of humbling is not totally dissimilar from tactics used by Bielsa, who famously made the Leeds squad pick litter for 3 hours, the average amount of time it takes to earn the money to buy a ticket for Elland Road, in order for them to fully respect the hard work of the fans. Like Bielsa, Marsch is an unconventional leader. He often sees himself more as a member of the team than as a manager, and likes to give players responsibility on team matters in order to solidify their commitment to the group. Marsch considers man management as important, if not more important than tactics, and if he can build a quick connection with this group of players, it will go some way to ensuring Premier League survival. But for all his talk of teaching players that it's okay to make mistakes, there is going to be very little room for them between now and the end of the season. So that was our take on Jesse Marsch and what we can expect from him at Leeds. But what do you make of his chances of keeping them up? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and subscribe to Football Daily if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you next time.